Unconventional.
You're such a fool.
That's
honestly.
what we are.
That's so not the vibe.
Welcome everybody to the season finale.
Season finale.
Of Unconventional Voices of Track and Field.
Our last one.
What a season. What a year of track and field.
Where do we bloody begin? It has been a fantastic year, hitting all different types of bases. Not the heart so much, but everything else. There was drama. There was
This was a notable year.
It was a very notable year.
This is a turning point.
For many reasons.
Yeah. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about the season?
What, like my best result? Like the best thing, the best performance or something?
Just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Sydney. Without thinking, Sydney's face when she crossed the line after breaking the world record and winning an Olympic gold medal at 21 years old. And she looked like Bobby Kersey set her like 6'3" and she just finished the last one. She just carried on walking like, yeah, that's the first thing. Crazy after everything else.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that comes?
Well, as I was asking the question, for whatever reason, Fred Curley jumped into my mind.
Really? Out of every
the more I
single thing?
spoke, Sha'Carri jumped into my mind right after that. And then I started thinking about a lot of things that were bigger that happened this year. There was Warholm, there was Sydney. But the first thing that came into my mind was Fred Curley for whatever reason.
Because Fred Curley's a G. You know what Fred Curley did this year? Fred Curley gave everyone a little dose of what it is when you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we live in a world where it's like we care about what people think. Everyone cares what this person thinks about them. If this person likes them, if this person doesn't like them, this person's doing this, so can I do this? Everything's about comparison to everything, right? Fred Curley came out and was like, I'm about to do this. And everyone was like, what is this dude doing?
Yeah, I was like,
and he
come on, you had a 1-2 good race in the 100 in the season. You're not going to be able to run with these mans. Like, just leave it alone. Go back to 400, yeah.
I know. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to run the 400, which he's a really good 400 meter runner.
Yeah, I thought it was a very bad idea.
Everyone thought it was a bad idea other than Fred Curley.
Exactly.
and
he's talented. I seen him. I'm like, this guy has some real talent. But I was like, use it in the right place. It's the 400.
Do you know what?
Boy, was I wrong. Big up to one named Fred Curley, though.
Yeah. This man's been talking about next season already. He's doing little tweets. Phase 42.
Yeah, he's been using that hashtag for a while.
And let me tell you, I ain't gonna doubt this dude. This man's saying he's gonna run 42. Who am I to say he's not? Did anyone think Fred Curley was gonna blapse out? I just saw a tweet from Victor Alameda. Most sub 10-second runs in the 100 meters this season.
Is it him?
Fred Curley. 10.
That's nuts.
The sixth person on the list, Lamont Jacobs.
The Olympic champion. The
Olympic champion who has gone MIA after the Olympics. He's done 5 times.
But that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that Fred was number one.
Yeah.
But upon reflection, it makes a lot of sense.
Him and Ronnie Baker, but this person's put Fred at the top. And I think he's at the top of the list because he came second at the Olympics. And
won the Diamond League final.
So you're the better runner.
Yeah.
Really? Fred Curley's the number one consistent 100 meter runner this year. Arguably.
He probably is.
Well, obviously, Bromell is still the number one in the world.
I think his issue this year was when he peaked.
Yeah, definitely. But it's funny, someone on I'm looking at all the replies, and someone's like, Christian Coleman would have been in the mix, if not the leader. Too bad. What do you reckon?
You know what? It's hard to argue that he wouldn't have been the leader. It's like a scramble right now.
Gotta be in it to win it.
Yeah.
Oh, look. Fred Curley replied, 11, 1 win dated.
I think we're going to have to take it back to the beginning of the season.
Well, how did we get into this? How did we get into doing this? You and I
we're going to take it back to there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it started, no?
Well, when I met you, I realized that we both had a real passion for track and field.
Having have done it and dedicated our lives to it for so many years.
Yes, of course. Very opinionated. And yeah, we have a lot of good discussions on track and field, but we have a lot of arguments about track and field as well, which is good. Because there's a lot of dialogue I always felt like a lot of people could learn from what we were talking about. And
or maybe learn, but also just stimulate. It will stimulate the the conversation.
And our perspectives are very unique in a lot of different scenarios. And then one day you were like, I don't even remember when you did it. I think we just came off an argument, yo.
We did. We just had a massive argument about track and field.
Yeah.
We hadn't spoken for like a day or something like that. And then
it was weird, yo. And you came with some notebook with some notes on podcast ideas.
Well, the weird thing was, went to bed mad, had a dream about, and it was a feeling like about doing a podcast. And then I woke up, and you know, one of those ones where you wake up and you just like write down some stuff. And there was like topics of different things I really wanted to discuss. And I felt like we should get into it, you know, and like you said, we don't always agree. So, and I feel like it stimulates the conversation. But the thing about us that I feel like happens is the realness of the conversation. And it very much reminded me of back in the day when I used to compete, because one of the things before I met you, I'd kind of lost the feeling for track and field. Like, it was boring to me. Everything was quite superficial. Everything was about like more social media based. So that was just my perception, and I just wasn't really interested in it as much. But then when we met, we used to get into these, like you said, these conversations. And I just really felt like it kind of brought my spark back for track and field. Then I started watching it again a little bit here and there, because you're super into, obviously you haven't really lost it. You never really stepped away from it.
I never really had a clean break.
No. You still got friends in it. You still got obviously people that are literally winning medals right now at the Olympics that you've been in contact with.
So like right after I was done, I went straight into broadcasting, and my girlfriend at the time was still competing. And then I'm still in contact with all my training partners, and I never really had that separation. So I've always stayed really tied to it. You were done, but I feel like it's more instilled in you guys' culture over here. So it's impossible for track and field to ever leave you, even if you're not really watching it.
It's a very much a cultural thing here. It's big in the culture. But lately, it's a lot less, just because of the way that the broadcasting is happening, and how, you know, it just doesn't feel the same as back in the day. Like we've been saying, I think there's just a shift. But literally, we hadn't spoken from the day before. I came in, I was like, right, I feel like I want to do a podcast. I think we should do it. And, you know, these are the titles I think we should start with. And you're like, all right. And then, and then we just did it. And then we started talking about it. And it was really weird how organically it just unfolded. And the reason why we did it was just really, and it was funny, out of the love of the sport, all the years and all our life that we gave to it. And that it obviously still has a place in our heart, you know. But we really did feel like in so many areas, it was just going off track, whether it was the way that it was broadcast, whether it was the way that the governing bodies were dealing with, you know, track and field, world athletics, the way it was doing stuff. We had a lot to say. Not all of it was good.
Right.
People were getting cussed.
Right.
Situation were getting cussed, but
we were
also, yeah, it was the truth.
Very honest.
We were just trying to give our honest opinion, because we really want to see it at its full glory. It was fun just creating something.
And timing-wise, it was good.
Yeah. And
just after the indoor season.
Yes, it was just after the indoor season.
And then I wasn't with CBC anymore, so the freedom obviously to just do
what
and be who I wanted to be. That was obviously good for us.
And also, we were in lockdown.
Yeah, and we were locked down. Yeah. So
that was a really good thing for us. Lockdown was pretty all right for us in that way. Yeah. What I like about it is just organic. We go with the flow, and it's a feeling. It has to be authentic. I don't want to force it and be like, let's just do it because we should do it. And one of the cool things I think we can probably talk about a little bit later is all the different types of voices and content that's been brought to track and field this year, from like athletes past, some present, coaches, and people who add to the sport in different ways. It's a really cool environment to be part of, because you've got all these people that just love the sport and that are wanting to give back and give a different voice.
The football track and field argument's been going on for years, yo. Like, a lot of these guys really feel like there's some football players that can run with track people, yo.
And we'd seen that vision of, like, it came up on social media of DK Metcalf walking on the track and dropping a pair of spikes, and all you saw was his feet. And everyone was like, ooh!
Yeah.
What?
But it was cool just to get the debate to actually happen, right?
It was such a debate.
And then
Everyone
we were actually going to see it. We undersold him. We thought he was going to run a lot slower.
Oh my gosh.
But he still got destroyed though.
Did.
This is the thing. I had so much respect for him after that.
So much.
Because he put it on the line, and then he exceeded what a lot of track people expected him to do. There were some track people who thought he would have ran decent. I don't know if anyone thought he was going to run 10.3, but I mean, I had him running a lot slower than that. What did I say he was going to run? I thought he was going to run.
I thought the chicks were going to run faster.
Yeah,
I thought
if
he was
he
going
ran
to run like 10.8.
I would have thought that was impressive.
I thought he was going to run like 10.8. I really thought the women were going to beat him. Give him a run
but
for
this
his
guy
money.
was training for almost 2 months without anyone knowing.
4 months.
I can't remember how long it was. It was way longer than we thought.
We didn't know that. I just thought he was going to come off the football field onto the track. That's what. That's how it kind of was sold. Like he's just going to walk off the football field, walk onto the track, put 1-2 spikes on, do 1-2 block, and then just run. And then he thinks he's going to. But you know what I really respected most about it was after the respect that he gave to track and field.
Man, just happy to be here. Excited to have the opportunity. Just thank God for, the opportunity to just come out here and run against world-class athletes like this.
He said straight away, they're in a different class.
Yeah. So he gave track people their props. It was a good way to kick off the season, bring in some new eyes, because everyone wanted to see the DK spectacle.
And I think
so big up DK for that, yo, because he got the season off to a good start for us. So.
I think that's when we started realizing how excited we were getting for this spectacle. Is how important it is for the entertainment factor of track and field.
Right. Because really, the rest of that track meet was boring.
Yeah,
it was. What else was Sha'Carri was notable, but aside from that, no one else is gonna remember anything from that meet. So there's just something that's missing that we need to find that something right now. Track and field is missing that something.
Yeah.
It was good to identify that right at the beginning of the season. At that point, by the time the Golden Games came around, Sha'Carri had already run 10.7, I believe, in Florida. Mm-hmm. She'd run 10.7 a few times, but there's some people who were on fire at that point. Mm-hmm. There was her. Grant Holloway just came off a really good indoor season. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited to see what he was going to do outdoors because he dominated and he just had so much flair and excitement.
The thing, Mo, to your credit, you noticed a thing very, very early. Indoor season, but like, this is a star. She's going to be a star.
You got a 200-meter track with those long legs and that physique, and she was doing what she was doing. I'm like, give this chick an outdoor track, a 400-meter track, and let her open up and see. I can't wait.
I looked at her and I was very impressed. I didn't know she was going to be this dominant now.
I still don't know what she's going to be better at. I still don't know what she could be best at. I don't know.
That was a big theme for this season as well. Being elite in more than one event. What is a 400-meter runner? What is an 800-meter runner? What is a 100-meter sprinter? The lines were blurred. People doing multiple events. Even Javon Harrison, he's dominating in the long jump and in the high jump.
Yeah, it's true.
So that was a huge theme. That was a huge theme this season. It's just there's no borders anymore. That could be a direction that the sport's going now. We're going to see people who are elite in multiple events, and there might not be specialists anymore.
And you know what? It's a mindset thing and I think what we were talking about a bit earlier about what Fred Curley did was open us up to realizing that it's a limitation of the mind. It's not really, and we know this, but it's like, it's not a limitation of the body. Man's running 400s and then he decides he's going to run 100. Shericka Jackson, 400-meter runner, a medalist in the 400 meters. This girl come out smashing.
She hadn't run anything notable in the 100 that I had heard about. Yeah, then all of a sudden at the trials, what? Shericka Jackson ran 10.7? She's not only going to get that third spot, she's also going to be a medal threat.
And didn't she run like, was it 21.8?
Shelly-Ann won the trials in the deuce. She came second. Elaine came third. Elaine got licks at the trials, yo.
And then she came back with something for them, boy. Yeah.
But she
came back with something for them.
But it makes sense. With the way she finished the season, she legitimately is probably training very hard through the trials.
Yeah.
Because she looked like nothing at the trials in comparison to how she finished the season. It's like two totally different athletes.
I love that. You know, the confidence just to say, right, just keep it together. Don't listen to none of the talk outside. It's all about this one day. It's all about the Olympics. So, because she did not look like she was going to do nothing.
People thought she was crazy.
Well, not nothing, but she
looked like nothing in comparison to what she turned out to be. And for her to be talking about winning the Olympics, people thought it was funny. They thought she was crazy, yo.
I've been up and down with this injury, same whole injury. And I had faith. I believe in God. I believe in myself. I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of doing. Even though I see the shade, the bad comment, the mental thing that they throw on me that I'm mental. But I'm not mental. I believe in God and I have faith. And 5 years later, I came here defending my title. God is amazing.
I'm not mental.
I'm not mental.
People call me mental. I'm not mental.
Michael Johnson tweeted, interesting to see 400 meter sprinters performing better over 100 meters. Fred Curley, Tokyo silver and Diamond League champ. Michael Norman, 3 sub-10s this year. Shericka Jackson, bronze in Tokyo. What's going on? Is being fast at 100 meters now seen as better than being a 400 meter Olympic or world champion? ? Then he went on to he was passionate about this.
Yeah.
He did a 3 tweet link, little thread here. Hard to know the motivation, and it's different for each athlete. But if you switch from your main event and run fast, even if you don't win, it's seen as a great accomplishment. Whereas in your main event, there's a greater expectation to win and therefore more pressure. And then enough people were commenting on it. He's like, lots of comments on this about the difference in commercial value of 100 meters versus 400 meters. No doubt 100 meters holds more value, but only if you win. There is absolutely more money and glory in the 400 meter Olympic or world gold than 100 meter silver or bronze.
Yeah, I respond to that because I disagree. For him, perhaps there was a lot of value, but he won all the time and he was the world record holder. So I responded and said, yeah, there's more value in winning the Olympics in the 4 if you're a world record holder as well. But I do feel like the bronze medalist in the 100
Gardner,
meters.
sorry, who's going to get more?
So if say the bronze in the 100, Gardner or Andre DeGrasse.
It's tough though because Andre did win the 200. So
okay, so imagine he didn't.
Yeah, because Wade van Niekerk, it's only because he's the world record holder.
World record holder. You have to be super elite in another event. If you're talking about the 400, you got to be super elite in the 400 to be able to have the same type of notoriety as a medalist
in the 100
meters.
True.
It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he had super notoriety, so that's where he's speaking from. It's just regular life to him. That's not normal for most people to have that type of notoriety. It's not. It wouldn't fly any other way.
One of our lives, I think, after the Diamond League final, and we had Obadele Thompson on, and we had
Alan Johnson
on.
Yep.
We were talking about Fred Curley and like him being the 100 meter runner. And then they came out and were talking about Michael Johnson. They told that story, right?
In 1999 in Rome, Alan and I did some starts with Michael Johnson. So Alan and I are looking at each other like, I'm going to get peace off of Michael now because I got to race him tomorrow in 200. He's in my domain. We're just doing block starts at 30.
400 meter guy. Hasn't run a 200 in a while. Oh, yeah, we're getting ready to blast him. So first couple of starts, we were in front of him. So I had the bright idea to kind of hype it up. I said, okay, this is the last one. This is the Olympic final. Whoever wins this gets the gold medal. Man, he let us have it.
And I've been around, I was running Maurice and Bruni Sarin and Ado and Frankie, right? And Michael is legit gone and like gone. Yeah. And I think I was like in 9.9 shape or something around then. Michael is, I think, at his best, probably could have run 9.90 or better. So when we see Fred Curley, right? The truth about it is someone like Michael Johnson could have done this before.
Michael Johnson replied and was like, ha, I remember that day in Rome doing starts with Alan Johnson and Obadele Thompson. Fun times with those guys. Oba is right. I could have run 9.9, but most times I ran the 100, something would break. That was always a bit frustrating. My one regret, no sub 10. That's deep. And so it must be funny, him seeing these mans just coming out like blah, blah, blah. And obviously Wade van Niekerk, who's taken his world record in the 400, he's run sub 10, sub 20, sub 44. You've got now Michael Norman, sub 10, sub 20, sub 44. You got Fred Curley, sub 10, sub 20, sub 44. And Michael, he's like, these motherfuckers ain't on my level. These mofos ain't rolling
he's probably
with
shrugging
me.
his shoulders at this.
That probably has this. So, when those athletes that have been that great, like a Michael Johnson, they must still relive, and in their brain somewhere, they still really believe they're that same. It must be tough to see these young cats coming. And you're like, if I was racing them, they ain't beating me. Yeah. If they were in my time, they ain't beating me.
That's exactly what he's thinking. A lot of people from now think like that, though. Like these men, I would have eaten these guys alive. I like that aspect of track where there's still the thoughts of what I would have done against these guys, kind of paralleling the whole debate that goes on with like the Michael Jordan versus LeBron's, stuff like that. I think it's good as far as keeping the past relevant in other sports, which I think we're missing in track and field, because usually when you're done with track and field, you're done. But big up Fred Curley. Yo, I'm just remembering, he actually won the Diamond League final in the 400 before.
Yes. He's the first person to ever do that.
It's all about the limitations of your mind.
It's absolutely all about the limitations of your mind.
Or your shoes. What are these shoes doing on the track? Because we saw what the shoes were doing in the marathons.
Yeah.
Right? Eliud Kipchoge in the marathon. It's this big thing. Someone breaking 2 hours in the marathon. Everything was set up for him to be able to do this, but there was one thing that was key. Aside from the course, aside from
all the
multiple pacemakers, a special energy drink at posts throughout the run, all of that would not have gotten him under 2 hours without the shoes.
It's not
I
happening.
believe the shoes are the Nike Vaporflies.
Yes.
It was this big thing like, well, shouldn't everybody have the shoes? Well, if the shoes are doing it, it doesn't really count. And some people were arguing, well, you still got to be elite to be able to do it. Like, shoes aren't going to make somebody an elite athlete. They're only assisting him do what he does better, and yada, yada, yada. But once it got on the track, we're seeing huge personal bests in distance events. And we're seeing these monstrous drops even in sprint events, yo. When I was on Faster Fridays with the Fast U guys, and Joseph Famble came on. And Joseph Famble, the NCAA champion in the 200 meters from Florida, he started talking about the shoes.
Yeah, let me see the boost.
You got one handy?
Yeah,
bro.
See the boost up.
These, like, bro, you know how like you can feel the track, and like you can feel like your spikes pushing. You don't feel nothing. You feel the bottom plate, and you just bounce. You're floating on air.
Those shoes
That's
look
tough.
like
They were
like they got
talking
a
about they wasn't
personality.
even gonna make that legal for a little bit. They said that thing wasn't gonna be legal. Remember?
Shoot, those
It should be
shoes-
illegal. It should be illegal. There, bro.
But he's basically saying that the shoes are like, you don't even feel the ground.
To be honest, it was really difficult at the beginning of the season to not be pulled into anytime I saw a good performance, looking to see whether they're wearing the shoes. And I remember really early going, well, Sha'Carri's wearing the shoes. I remember when Shelly-Ann ran that time. And this time we hadn't really had a good look at the shoes so much. And she was just doing an interview and she was just moving around. And I'm like, with my hawk eye looking in, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. How it's like got some springs on your shoes. Like, and I could just see them compressing. Of course, that's going to give a benefit. I remember talking to Dan Path about them, where he was very vocal about the fact, Dan Path, the coach, one of the top coaches.
He was saying track and field is going to get to a point where coaches are going to train athletes to get the most out of the equipment. So certain running styles are going to get more benefit out of a shoe built the way it is. So it's not even like, okay, I'm just going to get you faster. It's, I'm going to get you to use certain muscles optimally, or certain running patterns optimally, in order to get the right propulsion out of a shoe or whatever equipment in the best way.
Rather than out of your actual body.
Right. So it's not about you just being able to run fast. It's about how you can utilize your tools in your body to be able to utilize the equipment the best. And that totally changes the sport.
It does.
You could take the shoes off of everybody and have everybody run barefoot, and the results would be extremely different. I don't know if we're at that point yet, but it could get to that point if people are just creating the athletes to be able to utilize the equipment to get the most out of the equipment.
It's funny you say that. I literally was just looking at this rule, 5.2 of the section. Athletes may compete barefoot or with footwear on one or both feet. Just a silly little part in it. The purpose of shoes for competition is to give protection and stability to the feet and a firm grip on the ground. Such shoes, however, must not be constructed so as to give athletes any unfair assistance or advantage. Any type of shoe used must be reasonably available to all in the spirit of universality of athletics. Note, adapting a shoe to suit the characteristics of a particular athlete's foot is permitted if made in accordance with the general principles of these rules. Right, so it goes on to talk about the number of spikes, blah, blah, blah. But in this, it's talking about a shoe being designed to give stability and basically protect the foot and maybe give a little bit of grip so you're not going to slip, right? Not to like literally aid in the performance to the point where the shoe becomes the performance.
Right.
Because I just didn't like the idea that all the records that have stood, they didn't have this. So now where do the records start again? Do we just carry on like it's, you know? And it was very difficult. I just was I felt very uneasy and a bit irritated every time I saw these crazy performances. Even my girl, she was wearing them and I was like, oh man. It just was disappointing every time. Oh man, right. I was just kept feeling like that every single time I saw someone. But then the funniest thing happened as the season went on. Everyone just stopped talking, and we just adapted like we did with everything else. I think the mindset that we're all in after being in lockdown and going through everything we've gone through over the last year, where you just got to adapt to change, and it's like fighting for what's right. Even sometimes something doesn't make sense. Oh, well, it's happening. You kind of give a little bit of resistance. Oh, there's another thing. So it's like, I feel like we became adapted to just accepting things. The thing is, I just still don't know about whether I think these shoes are something that should be accepted or not.
Well, it comes down to a debate of performance enhancement. In general, we do things to enhance our performance. We take supplements, we eat certain food, whatever. But back in the day, okay, they ran on dirt tracks. They had crappy shoes. There was a lot of slipping happening. They didn't have blocks. So I agree with the advancements that take away from mishaps. You should have blocks at the start to give you the ability to come over inertia in the best possible way. It's a block you can actually just push off and everything moves forward. There's no slipping or anything moving backwards, right?
It's like having springs in blocks, for instance.
So that's where it gets to now. Like those things are just taking away from things that were taking away from performance. Mm-hmm. Now, I feel like we got to a point where, okay, there's some spikes that take away from mishaps or from shortcomings that people were dealing with.
And protect the foot and give a bit of stability so you don't break your foot.
Right, or keep people moving in the right direction and all that stuff. But now it's getting to a point where it's performance enhancing.
Yes.
It's doing more. Like I understand
you could
every
physically
year,
do without the piece of equipment.
Exactly. I understand them bringing the best out of you, but bringing more out of you than you actually have, that's when it's kind of like, okay, come on. Like now you're kind of teeter-tottering on a line. And I remember we were in the Nike store the other day and I was telling you about the Nike basketballs. If you show up to a court with a Nike basketball, more times men aren't going to use that ball because the grooves in the ball are way too deep, easier to palm the ball. You shoot and get a different type of spin. You have more control when you're doing layups or moves and stuff like that. It's not a real basketball. It's not like you can use it, but no one's really going to seriously use it if you're having a serious game of basketball. Or take you
fully seriously as a basketball player if you're using that ball.
And you have serious handles or you play well with that ball because you can do more things with that ball than you can with a regular ball.
But the funny
and it would
thing
never be used officially. The shoes aren't going to make slow people fast. Like they obviously have to have some level of talent to be able to still compete well, but that's the same with drugs. Drugs don't just make people fast. Those people have some talent. They're good, but the drugs enhance their performance. That's what makes it unfair.
Exactly.
The shoes are enhancing these elite athletes. We're not saying they're not elite.
But the problem is people are acting like that it's not. Like you were saying about the basketball, it's like having a basketball that has the grips that blatantly allow you to palm the ball, put extra spin on the ball, have better control and management. You're not doing all of that. Your ball is aiding you in it being able to do that. You're not going to go to this guy who's doing this with this ball with the deep grips and put him on the same level as a man who's handling a normal ball. No. You're not going to be like, you two are just as good. You're going to be like, if you didn't have that ball. But we're living in a world now where I feel like with the shoes, people are like, oh my God, he's the best in them. Well, how are you the best? Well, what about people who didn't use those shoes?
Right.
They didn't have that. There was a woman called Beth Potter from Great Britain in the 5K. I didn't even know who this chick was. She ran 2 seconds faster than Beatrice Chepkoech, 2 seconds faster than her world record over the 5K, and 43, not 4 or 3, 43 seconds faster than her own PB. So she was wearing Asics though, and she basically told Athletics Weekly that at the end of the day, you still have to do the training. You still have to get up early in the morning and train hard year on year, season on season. It's not just the shoes. No one's saying it's just the shoes. Of course you have to do that, but everyone does that. Even the people back in the day did that. What we're saying is, listen, Rugal, last year, before these shoes came out, you were doing the same thing. Why didn't you run 43 seconds faster then?
Yo, big up the one named Abiba Bikila. You know what that is?
No.
In 1960, he won the Olympics in the marathon barefoot, yo.
No, he did not.
From Ethiopia. Came out no shoes, Bridget. They say, yo, I'm going to win the Olympics in the marathon. Big up the one named Abiba Bikila. Doing it right, yo. I want to see everyone compete barefoot, to be honest. I want to see everyone compete barefoot. Rules. What are rules?
Well, let me tell you about what rules are. There's some dumb ones in track and field right now. Right? This shoe is definitely one of them for me. I just don't feel like it should be all the time and should be allowed. In a major championships, you know what? You shouldn't be able to run in those shoes. Maybe if you want to run in the Diamond League, you know what? Kind of a little bit like what World Athletics and the Diamond League did with the final three. They introduced it this year in every single Diamond League, right? And athletes were cussing. Everyone knows the stupid rule, the throws and the jumps. Ordinarily, we would get 6 attempts, but they're giving every athletes 5 attempts. And the best 3 attempts from the athletes, from individual athletes, will get a final 3. But all they do is show those final 3. They get 1 attempt, but that's the only attempt that's going to matter. All the other 5 get kicked to the curb. Right. And it just mash up the history books, man. It mash up the rule books. Yeah. I feel bad for statisticians. So let's say, for instance, we're looking at the triple jump and we see Rojas, Mamona and Ricketts, right? Rojas jumps 15:30 in round 3. None of them chicks are getting close to that. But let's say she goes into the final 3. She's obviously jumped 15:30. She's the best. But let's say she aborts the jump. She gets it a little bit wrong, or she gets a no jump. Mamona comes out. She jumps, let's say, 14:90. Let's say Ricketts jumps 14:70. It will go 14:90, 14:70, 15:30 for third place. How does this make any sense? It was confusing so many people. I saw this thing where someone tweeted, was like, my son came and asked me today, Daddy, why did she come third and she jumped the furthest? And he said, I have no idea. I don't have an answer for this. You're just mashing up the rules, man. Anyway, we know.
Yo, track and field is already having a problem with relatability. Track and field can't be throwing in rules like this. If we weren't involved in track, it wouldn't necessarily make sense to us right away.
Dude,
but in general, say you're not a track fan, you got to explain the final 3 to somebody. They'd be like, okay, just whatever. Just stop talking.
So there's this statement, right, from Seb Coe, who's obviously the president of IAAF or World Athletics.
Big up the one named Sebastian.
He will review the controversial final 3 format in jumps and throws events after widespread criticism from athletes. Listen. The idea is to give more TV prominence to field events, but it has proved almost universally unpopular. Coe admitted, we do need to review this. I'd like to sit down with some of the broadcasters and ask them, has the format made a difference? It's not uniformly popular, I accept that, but it's now for the athletes and coaches to come back with something different. Tiana Bartoletta, who's Olympic champion in the long jump. So she says, the problem is they asked, inverted commas, us before they did it. We gave them alternatives and they chose to do the final 3 anyway.
Right.
So obviously this guy, Sean Ingalls for The Guardian, this journalist, he's basically saying that Seb Coe said that they need to speak to the athletes and coaches and ask them for different alternatives. But she's saying they did ask us.
Right.
And we gave them alternatives, but they did this anyway.
Right.
You just say something to appease, to act like you're going to do something, but then really just fuck everyone off and F everyone off and be like, we're going to do what we're doing.
It's a bad look for them to hold on to this because it simply looks like an ego thing now.
Yeah.
We're not going to change because you guys asked us to or quote unquote told us to.
Yeah.
When in actuality, we're just letting you know that it's a stupid rule. It's a bad rule. It's not good for the sport. It's not helping. It's making it weird. It's awkward. It's hard to understand. It's not more entertaining.
No.
It's a waste of time. Just let it go. There's a lot of dumb rules in track.
There's a lot of dumb rules. One of the other dumb rules, the world rankings.
I did a video one time explaining the world rankings. I spent a lot of time having to review my script because there was so much jargon that needed to be explained. You know, athletes are going to really research the world rankings and how they work and how I can get my numbers up. And there's a lot of things that are out of your control anyways. if I can make it as simple as possible, and it's not simple, you have to compete at very high class meets and get high finishes in order to accumulate points.
Yes.
Whether you're in school, like your schedule may not permit it. And also those meets you got to get invited to. It's not like you're at a certain level and you're automatically in those meets. It doesn't work like that. You got to accumulate the points. Depending on the amount of points you have, will contribute to where you're ranked in the world, and where you're ranked in the world can ultimately contribute to whether or not you can make world championship or Olympic teams. It's confusing as hell. And it got in the way of a lot of people making teams this season.
Yes, it did.
Every year, but this season in particular is huge because it's an Olympic year, right?
Well, Tyra Gittins, she has the qualifying standard in the long jump, and she has the qualifying standard in the heptathlon. But heptathlon's their event. She won the NCAAs in the heptathlon. But because obviously she's competing for her school, she competes in all those meets. Her school was ranked one of the top scores in the world in the heptathlon.
Right.
And imagine, the heptathlon is one of those events that you're not going to do loads of heptathlons over the year. But obviously, if she's going to school and she's doing that, she's doing her thing in the school system.
Right.
She can't get out and go over to Europe and go to Gotsits or whatever, right? So obviously, they only take an X amount of women in the heptathlon, but it would be on the world rankings. And you know what was really sad? She actually went for the long jump. And before the Olympics, she tweeted, "Nothing against any of the amazing women who made it in the heptathlon, but can someone please explain to me how I have the 7th best heptathlon score in the world this year, but because I did it at a champs, which is undervalued by World Athletics, I'm ranked 27th. Make it make sense." This makes me so mad.
Yeah.
Athletics Weekly, they did a poll. Do you think the world ranking system organised by World Athletics is good for the sport? Yes, no, or not sure. 26% said yes, it's good for the sport. 23% said not sure. And 51% said no.
Right.
But yet, these world rankings are something they're going to keep going by.
Who would say yes, though? That had to be all staff members of World Athletics.
300 votes, 150
Yeah, it was probably a requirement. All staff, please make sure to go to this tweet and say yes.
Yeah. And I personally feel like, to be really honest, even now, Trayvon Brumell's not ranked number 1 in the world because he didn't do well at the major championships.
Right.
So
it's a factor.
It's a factor. His time of 977 would have huge points.
Maybe it comes down to what meets you make major leading into a game.
That's 100% what it should be. And it shouldn't be the meets that World Athletics put on.
It can't be.
It can't
because
be.
not everybody can go to those.
No. And then the funny thing is, right, why when I was watching the Diamond League final, for instance, and a couple of the Diamond Leagues, in Diamond League events, there were some random people filling spots.
Right. Just because they're from that country.
They're getting way more points, even if they come last, than let's say someone who goes and does it in a lesser meet that does an extraordinarily better performance. They're going to get more points.
That's ridiculous.
Makes no sense. There shouldn't be like this conglomerate, this dominance of wanting to dominate, and it's all about what we do only. You are the governing body for our sport, or whatever you want to call yourself, but track and field is happening all over the place. A lot of the girls this year in the long jump jumped really far at Chula Vista, a little meet at Chula Vista, the jumps meet. It's a fact that that's a really good meet to go and jump at. And then what? You don't get points for that? Even though you just jumped 7:10? Joe Bloggs from the country that the Diamond League's in that gets let in because they're from the country, jumps 6:30. 6:30 gets more than 7:10 at Chula Vista. Are you absolutely out of your mind? So PJ Vassell quote tweeted a tweet that said, "What's the dumbest thing we do in athletics and road running that everyone knows is dumb, but we just keep doing anyway?" When I started reading the comments, I was cracking up because we'd be doing some dumb stuff. We know it's dumb, but we just keep doing it.
The bib numbers and the hip numbers thing is getting kind of old now. I don't know why we wear bib numbers.
Or the hip numbers are worse.
You know what's the worst is watching a race and seeing athletes getting into on your marks and the number dropping off. And then they have to deal with rolling it up and throwing it off of the track.
While they're trying
as they're getting into on your marks, they're seeing it flickering and they'll pull it off because they know it's about to fall off. It's like, why is my mind even on this right now?
Right. And then you're being distracted from the job that you're actually supposed to be doing.
Right. Focused. And there's nothing aerodynamic about it. There's nothing sleek about it. It doesn't look good. It doesn't add to anything.
I don't understand how
and
it
with
works.
The innovations that they've made with how they clock and time athletes, I don't think that the hip numbers or bib numbers are that imperative when the athletes are on the track. Just get rid of them, or have another alternative that's a bit more sleek.
Do you know what I think is another dumb rule?
That's it.
When an athlete, for whatever reason, doesn't turn up for the race, they get injured and they don't move the other athletes into the middle lane. In a final, imagine it's the Olympic final.
Right.
Or whatever. Someone doesn't turn up because they get injured in warm-up.
Right.
Got someone in lane 1. Lane 2's empty. Then lane 3. Lane 4. This person in lane 1 is just on their own in their own race. They ain't attached to none of the vibe. Just let them move into lane 2. Why is this? Because you can't be bothered to what? Just go, okay, we've moved that athlete into lane 2.
Or fill the lane. Why not? I remember for relays, whenever we had to warm up, the substitute would have to warm up as well, no matter what, and just be ready. So say for every race, you have 1 or 2 people warm up and be ready and out there on the track just in case someone false starts. Someone false starts, okay, they come out the race, then the substitute comes in, yo. And then they can fill the lane.
That would be good. They're just sitting on the bench at the back,
They're just
waiting.
They're just
but
waiting.
the only problem with that is they have to do their blocks and they have to have a couple block starts.
Well, that's issues that they're gonna have to deal with for not qualifying properly in the first place. You're just lucky you get a chance now, yo.
Yeah.
You don't get to do what everyone else got to do that actually qualified.
No.
But you get an opportunity if someone false starts or if someone doesn't show up.
Someone was talking about the limited sponsorship opportunities by not allowing other sponsors on your racing kit. Look at Formula One. This is like plastered. Cycling. It's plastered. Even UFC, all of these things, they've got it everywhere, all over their shorts.
Bare sponsors.
But no, athletes are not allowed to do that.
That would just look better too. Everyone's uniform would look unique.
This one is for the long distance runners, which I don't really understand, but there was a lot of this one in the replies. Running the 1500 or the 1600 meters instead of the mile. I don't know. This is like long distance people talk, but there are so.
Well, I don't understand the 1500 meters. I don't understand what the point of it is. I think it's just traditional. But 4 laps is a mile.
Yes.
And it's a square method of measurement. So just do the mile. Because in my mind, it seems logical. Just make it a mile. But if distance people are saying the same thing,
laps of the
what is that? I don't even understand. Why aren't you starting at the real starting line? I'm confused.
Not allowing gambling and frowning upon booze in stadiums. Open those 2 things up. We can actually attract non-track fans.
Yo, they allowed gambling this Olympics though.
But they've been allowing gambling.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm sure people were telling me about it this year. I was like, I thought they were lying, but it was multiple people telling me, and I was like, yo, this is a real thing. People are betting on the Olympics now, but that's exciting though.
Yeah.
But it adds some intensity as people watch though.
A couple people
it gives people a reason to watch.
It does. But what about the alcohol in stadiums?
You got to do it. Hell yeah, you got to do it. When I went to the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, the livest event was curling. And do you know why? They allow alcohol in the stadiums.
Yes.
They allow alcohol as they watch. As far as a venue where you're watching a sport, yo, let people loosen up, yo. Get live, get loose. Baseball games, basketball games.
They do.
Yo, have a drink and watch some people run and throw and jump. Yo, imagine there has to be alcohol in those events.
They have them in basketball, in ice hockey, all of that, right? They have alcohol.
Imagine how hyped that would be as you're watching this sport and you can have a drink and see people jumping this far, throwing that far, running this fast. Yo, imagine me going crazy, yo. I don't want it to be as boring, yo. There's a lot of things that are contributing to how boring it is, whether it's rules, or standards, or just the way it's regulated. It needs to loosen up and become an actual sport. It's dry at times, yo. And even as the season was dwindling down at the end of the year, I'm watching, and once the Sha'Carri stuff died off and some of the, people aren't really clashing anymore in big races, it's kind of like, I'm watching this because I like track, because I did it. I'm not watching this because it's necessarily entertaining.
Yeah.
I can't argue why anyone else would want to watch this right now. There's been some advancements, which we saw in the Diamond League final. Remember you were saying the first day, there was a lot of things that you liked in that?
Yes, that was really good. That Diamond League final was fire. I really liked it. I felt like that was the first time I was like, oh, okay. There she implemented some of the things that we had basically said that they should do in our podcast about is track and field boring? Are you entertained? Remember we did that podcast?
I remember that. That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. We come up with some good ideas. And funnily enough, we saw some of them starting to be implemented.
Yo, hell yeah.
It was
I know
either
people
a
were listening to the
coincidence
podcast,
or
yo.
these people were like got eyes on our podcast listening and taking.
I think this year another thing that was a prominent theme was a lot of the younger athletes in the NCAA performing at a very high level.
It was crazy.
You were on a thing. Javon Harrison, Joseph Fonboulet, Terrence Laird.
Oh, bowling. Your
Matthew
little brethren.
Beware of bowling. I'm telling you, next year is going to be serious for bowling. But anyways, a lot of young athletes transitioning to running with the pros. Some are going to go pro. Some aren't going to go back to school. I think not going back to school. She's a pro now.
Yeah.
And she's going to have to live the grown woman athlete life now.
But she will. That's the problem. I think she's one of the
main. She seems very ready.
She seems extremely ready. She just has that. That's one of the things about her that I saw that I was like.
Yeah. I was interested in seeing how Sydney would have transitioned when she was coming out of school because she was but she was ridiculously popular before she went pro.
15 years old on the front cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. We saw this season the toll that it took on her.
Yeah.
Whether it was her Instagram video, whether it was the video we seen of her with her now fiance, when not paparazzi, one man was trying to take a picture of her and she looked so uncomfortable in the exchange.
Didn't want to speak, didn't want to,
with
engage,
the media. She seems like she's dealing with some battles. And she said straight up, she don't want this fame, yo. She don't want all these eyes on her. She's doing everything right and still got to deal with this, that, whether it's family, whether it's fans. It's very tough for her. The spotlight has become a big deal for a lot of athletes to deal with the pressures that come with it, whether it's in track and field with Sydney, Naomi Osaka,
Simone Biles.
They're
the ones that have just come out and spoken about that this year. And that's what's been a massive revelation for me this year in terms of like sport overall. Is like people coming out and actually speaking about their mental health side and how the pressures and the struggles and actually massive. I think it was an important one. The reason why it's come now to a head other than any other era in sport, in track and field, is because of social media. It's not what the human psyche's made to be able to handle and deal with, let alone being the best in the world. Just idolized.
Yeah.
We watched that thing on Michael Jordan during lockdown that came out. It was so good. The Last Dance, that he was, going back talking about what was his whole career, his whole life. Screaming fans, everyone's going berserk. They're going berserk. He gets to the hotel. He's just there on his own, lying with his big long self on some like couch that looks like it was a bit too small for him, but he's just there on his own and he can get away from it. He can shut the door and he gets away from it. Now, no one is doing that. Away. There's nowhere to get away.
Imagine the same picture of him on that couch with a phone in his hand, just looking at what everyone's saying about him.
All those, however many million people,
it doesn't stop.
Hundreds of thousands of people are in the room with you.
Doesn't stop.
And people could say, "Oh, just put the phone down. Don't look at it." We live with our phones. And do you know the most annoying thing?
If you know people are talking about you, it's hard not to listen.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember we used to have the BlackBerry? And I have it on all the phones now. But do you remember the introduction of the flashing little light?
It's impossible to not go to your phone.
Absolutely. I remember BBM.
Remember
BBM?
Hell yeah.
BlackBerry Messenger. Oh my God.
What, you hear that sound, yo?
It was so distracting, but it was the light for me because you just see that thing flashing and you can't just say, I'll leave it. There's something in our psyche that you have to check that phone. And then there's this whole thing like, no, I'm not going to look at it. But you just saying I'm not going to look is keeping your mind on that thing. So it's like this subconscious thing. This is what social media is. Yeah. You've got 500,000 followers, 1 million followers, 250,000 followers. You just did something. Your ads are going blah, 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 blah.
How do you not look?
Do you know something? There's a funny story. I have to tell this story. It's a funny story. You know what I'm talking about. Gabby Thomas. So, Gabby obviously runs 21.6 with that Hayward Magic at the US trials and just absolutely shocked everyone with that run. And I think we were all like, wow, is she going to do it? How's she going to cope? She's never been to a championship. I don't even know if she's been to a major competition. I don't think she's been to a Grand Prix, a Diamond League. I don't think she's done any of those. So she now goes into the Olympic Games as favourite. Obviously, there was a lot of anticipation of how she's going to run. And when she gets there and she runs in the first round, she doesn't look good. That's not the girl that just ran 21.6 at the US trials a few weeks before. So we're obviously tweeting a lot and sharing different results that people are doing when we're seeing them on. And it just got to the point where out of habit, you're just atting whoever it is. So whatever their Twitter handle is. That's what you do on Twitter, right? So I think it was for the semi, she just scraped through. She just didn't look good. So I did a tweet. I put a tweet out and it says, Shone Miliwibo and Atida start looks so weird, very choppy. Even Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, who is a foot shorter in height, looked more rangy in that first 50. And then I put, at Gabrielle Thomas looks horrible with eyes. And Elaine looks like the Terminator. It was just some of what we just saw, right? It was just a little roundup. I'm not thinking because everything is just the at. You're just atting, right? So I wasn't thinking about it. Literally within, I think, 30 minutes of the semi-final happening, when I put that as it happened, I get a DM in my inbox from Gabby Thomas. She sends me the tweet that I tweeted, and then she put, was it necessary to tag me? with the skeleton face, right? It was before the final. This is what I'm saying. You're not thinking anyone's going to see, they're too busy competing. I'm never looking at my phone right after. Why would I look at my phone? I'm focused on what I need to do. So I'm not even thinking about that. It's not even in my mind. By the time, do you know how many people are probably atting her?
Right.
The at wasn't like at her so she could see it. It was more just habit, and it was people look at the tweet. They could just click on that person's page and then go straight and then look at whatever, right? Anyway, so I responded and I was just like, it's actually a bit of habit, out of habit, which I'll keep in mind now that you've mentioned it. I also tag athletes so anyone following along can click and see the athletes for themselves. Hopefully you get to run close to your best in the final, right? So she went and did the final. I think it was within 30 minutes of her final.
Right.
Thanks for the heads up kind of
You're
thing.
very cordial. You're nice.
Yeah, I was just being respectful because I'm like, shit,
You weren't doing it maliciously.
No.
Right.
Why would I do that? It's just an opinion. This is what we do as people that, watch track and field. We're fans. We love it. I wasn't trying to hate on her. You didn't look good, dude. You were not looking good. We give her big ups in other things that we do.
Right.
But it's just opinions. She runs the fight. She didn't respond to that. And then after the final, I get like cracking up laughing faces. As if to say, ha, ha, ha.
That's interesting.
See, I went and got a bronze medal. But why are you thinking about me? why are you thinking about me? I'm just little on me over here. You're at the Olympic Games. You're the favorite. You were the favorite for the 200 meters. Dude, I want you to get a bronze. I want you to do your best.
Right.
I'm not doing that to be bad mind. Like the mindset of someone who's competing at the Olympics to message me that in the first place,
right,
in my direct message, and then come back after and crack up at the fact that you went and got. I'm just stating what I saw. You looked horrible. Are you going to disagree with me? That was all I was saying.
That's extremely funny. Most people will talk about you and feel like you ain't going to see it anyways.
But the thing is, you only know that you are giving your one opinion. But imagine if every single person thinks they're just giving their one opinion. To the person that they're giving their opinion to, that's 500,000 opinions.
Yes.
So that
with
one
different
person,
energies.
with
Some
different
people
energy,
are malicious. Some people are just trying to help. Some people are just stating
from
what they
different
think.
parts of the world, all over the whole entire
it's too
world.
much, man.
Right? And then you're sitting in your one hotel room, and at that moment, as soon as you open your phone, you go social media, that 500,000 people are in the room with you. You ain't in the room on your own. And this is the problem. There's no space to get away, and we are affected by what people have to say to us. That's just what it is. We are, as the human side of it, like that mind part of us, we care what people think about us. And it's really hard to just stay centered on what actually matters and what doesn't. But it's really difficult because I'm telling you, a million comments saying you're amazing, you just kind of buy into it. You get 10 comments saying you're the worst scum of the year. Like, that's going to affect you more than the million comments that people say that you're amazing. And we also know nowadays that there's these fake accounts. People just doing fake accounts all over.
Yeah.
And but we don't know, so we're just buying into it.
How do you not go nuts?
I have Twitter, but I got Twitter like years after even I'm not really a Twitterer. Twitter's become a place where people just go to moan and feel butthurt and be victims. Everyone's a victim on Twitter, boy. The people just love to, and also they're just so sensitive. I have to read this out because it's Michael Johnson Day today, clearly. I really like Michael lately.
Me too.
He's been like very different this year. He was quite uptight, and I think we mentioned
a little more subdued before.
Yeah, before a bit more subdued, a bit detached.
Yeah.
He feels like he's really kind of getting into it with people. He seems a lot more personable, sociable. Like giving strong opinions.
Yeah,
just he's always giving a point, but like he's giving kind of controversial ones and just putting, and I'm like, ooh, go on with it. Michael's on it. But the other day I was laughing because it wasn't anything to do with track and field. Basically, there was this young girl, 18 years old, Emma Raducanu. I think that's how you pronounce her name. You know me and my name thing. No disrespect if I got it wrong. She's an 18-year-old tennis player from Great Britain in Wimbledon, which was in June, which is obviously British, one of the biggest Grand Slams. She was doing fantastic. First really time you're hearing about this young girl. And then she had a panic attack. She said her heart started beating. She started feeling dizzy. She didn't know what was going on. She spoke to the medics. They told her, look, we think you need to put your health there first. So she pulls out of the match. Halfway through the match, she pulls out of the match. Then comes out and apologizes to everyone and then does an interview after and explains. She just said she thinks the pressure was too much. It was so much, so quick. So she pulled out. Some people slated her. But most people were like, look after yourself, look after your mental health. And she put out a statement saying, she's really sorry if she let anyone down. She hopes she can be back. And it was interesting because Naomi Osaka had done a similar thing in the French Open. Anyway, so she took time off, whatever. She comes back and wins the US Open. Obviously, that's a massive thing for this country. But she was in the final with another 18-year-old, Leylah Fernandez. So Michael Johnson, I see this tweet. This is crazy. It was fun watching two teenagers at the US Open yesterday. Emma, great tournament. Something tells me, though, Leylah might have a brighter future, though. It went off. People started. For BBC Sport, Gabby Logan's the host of like all the athletics. She does lots of different sports, but she does the athletics. She's the host. She has whatever. So she says, interested to know why you think that. Michael put, mental and emotional control seems to be huge in this sport. Fernandez seems to have a unique grasp of it very early. She came from behind on some tennis giants en route to the final, and she doesn't have the double-edged sword of being a British star. Let me tell you, in this country, boy, it's happened to so many. Do you remember Mark Lewis Francis?
Yo, I just saw this race clip got put up yesterday of him. This guy, David Maris, on Instagram, he always puts these old school races up. He put a race of Mark Lewis Francis. It was somewhere in Britain. I can't remember where. It might have been national championships. I don't know. He was a little kid, though. Imagine the talent level on that kid was ridiculous. Yo. Ran 10:08, blazed Marlon Devonish out of
all of them.
men. Yo,
17 years old, he ran 9.9. I think it was 9.97. Would have been the world junior record, but there was some faulty wind gauge.
That was in Canada, yeah.
The wind was Edmonton.
Yeah. He should have gotten the world junior record.
The world junior record that day.
There was definitely a minus wind.
Yes.
But what the minus wind was inaccurate. So they had to throw the whole entire time.
Out.
It wasn't official anymore.
Right. So, but he was so talented. And you know what? He just was feisty. Black boy from Birmingham. And he didn't care. He's like, you know what? I don't business. He's got a massive contract with Nike. The media just started putting him on the gold medal rostrum already, right? Like he should be calm down. He's 17 years old. This is what they do. They do it to our football stars, right? Like soccer football stars. They put so much pressure on them and it just tears away at the fabric of who they are, right? She's 18 years old, but he's so true. And he's seen it. Even Katarina Johnson-Thompson, similar thing. You have to have a certain mindset. If you've got it, you've got it. Jessica Ennis had that mindset. Mo Farah, these people have it. So Michael Johnson comes back. Gentle reminder to Twitter users. An opinion is an opinion. Everything isn't binary. Two things can be right. Two people can be great. Praise for one person isn't criticism of another. A comparison isn't a diss. Some things aren't worthy of an angry reply. But if you must, carry on. I was like, who is this guy, Michael Johnson? This sums up Twitter.
Yeah. Big up the one named Michael Johnson. Social media organizations are going to have to get control over what's going on right now, or people aren't going to use social media no more.
Something's got to give.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're getting people killing themselves because of social media. Celebrities are taking their lives. Different people are going through certain things. You're constantly always hearing about celebrities having to take time off of social media for their mental health. And in the youth, just non-sports people, it's eating away at the fabric of being young. How impressionable that young mind is when you're a teenager and you're just kind of going through that. This is all their life is. And we're gonna get a generation of absolutely broken people. And we're seeing it in sport right now. Thanks for tuning in to the Unconventional Voices of Track and Field podcast. Follow, like, and join the conversation at Voices of TNF, as well as subscribe across all podcast platforms.